everyone. Good day to the new subscribers and also my existing subscribers. Thank you so much for everyone who has been supporting me for so many years, actually. So, thank you for that. Today, we have an amazing lady, Ms Visha. I've already invited her from my previous session. But this round, we are actually having an exciting topics. We have two parts to it. So, before going into that, let's welcome Ms Visha. Hi Visha, how are you doing?
Hi, Lavanya. Thank you for having me today. I think this is my second time I'm in your recording, so it's really exciting.
Okay, Visha. Do you want to share a little bit about yourself? What are you doing currently and stuff like that?
Okay, so I'm actually attached to oil and gas industry. I'm working as a senior product development engineer in Synergy Oil and Gas Engineering. So I've always been in a research background from the day I've graduated as a chemical engineer up to date. 7 years of experience being in R&D field, and I started off being in manufacturing industry, and then later I moved on to oil and gas, like 4 years in oil and gas, 3 years in manufacturing. So yeah, I have a lot of passion in research, and I've like developed few products, patented few, and in the midst of commercializing some of my products. Some are already in the market, so it's a bit of exciting journey because for me, research is all about anticipating new things, and it's not routine, right? So I'm
Yeah.
not some routine. I have to come out with something exciting and read something exciting almost every day. So yeah, I just love what I'm doing right now.
That's so nice. I mean, I will tell you very frankly, Ms. Isha, I am always inspired with the work that you are doing on a daily basis. So thank you so much for being yourself. So let's go into our first part, which is how accounting is going to impact in oil and gas industry. So we are going to cover a few questions on that. Then we will move to the second part. So my very first question here would be, um, what are the streams that do we have in oil and gas industry? So briefly explain to us on that.
Okay. So I think as a whole, the oil and gas industry is so huge, right? So it's divided into three parts. It's the simplest way to understand the entire industry, which is the upstream, the midstream, and the downstream. So upstream is of course more on subsea drilling. It's more on exploration. It's a
Mhm.
drilling part, exploring where is the oil and the gas, and the production of the oil and gas. So that's where you will see is the offshore base. Upstream, it's mostly on the seaside.
Mm.
Whatever oil rigs you're seeing, that's upstream. And then on the midstream is the transportation and storage, where you will see that how the production, the produced oil and gas is being transferred or channeled to the refineries. So that's the midstream. So it could also be on the transportation and also on the storage. So once you produce and everything, you store it in probably in a FPSO, in like a vessel, in a ship. You store it, and then weekly or bi-weekly, there will be a ship coming in to discharge all these productions, oil and gas, to transfer back to the downstream. And downstream is really about producing that into a product. So this oil and gas, they have their usage and their applications. So they were produced based on the applications. It goes to different industry where it uses oil to produce their raw materials,
Mm.
and also gas for that essence. And on the other side, it's also on the marketing. On the marketing also involved on the downstream, because you got to do a lot of marketing because it's already into a very feasible products, right? So yeah, that is the three streams of oil and gas industry.
Okay, thank you, Isha. So this leads to my second question, which is with all the streams that you have mentioned just now, so what are the costs roughly will be incurred during each of the stream?
Okay, every streams have their own costs incurred. Because I'm in offshore, right? So I'm very much well versed in the offshore side rather than the midstream and the downstream. I might be not the right person to talk on the midstream and downstream, but if I were to talk about offshore on the upstream side, then yes, there is a lot of cost incurred, especially on the exploration. So when you talk about upstream, like I mentioned earlier, it's definitely about exploration and production. So exploration is more on subsea. So what geologists will do, they will look at which location that produces most oils and gas, that particular seabed. And then the drilling was when petroleum and reservoir engineers were coming to do the drilling. So the drilling part really costs you a lot because as simple as, because you're talking about drilling under the seabed, right? And you're talking about doing it at the middle of the ocean,
Mm.
and water depth is really, really, the water depth is really high. So, and it's very deep down. So you are talking about 100, 200 meters. It's really in depth. And the pressure, equally, the depth is equivalent to the pressure that you're emitting. So the pressure there, it's really high. So there's a risk to it as well. The pressure is so high, and so you've got a lot of safety features. So these are the main part where it incurs a lot of cost, the drilling. And then once you've done the drilling part, you have to build the oil rig. The oil rig designing itself, it will take a very long time for you to fabricate this oil rig. It's not about 6 months story. For you to design itself, it takes 6 to 1 year, and from there to fabricate and to really see that as an oil rig, it's a process where it takes 2 3 years. So can you imagine the cost that will incur to the engineering consultant company who designs it? Just the E. So it's mainly the phases are known as EPCC, the engineering phase, the procurement phase, the construction, the installation, and the commissioning. So it's also known as EPCIC or EPCC. So the CIC is the construction, installation, and commission, or construction and commission. Either way, lah, they will name it. So every stage of this EPCC or EPCIC, it incurs a lot of costs. Your engineering, your designing phase, your consultants, you have a lot of phases in engineering for you to go through. This will take a year to just design the platform, to make sure it's all in place, especially in the safety aspects. Safety aspects are taken a lot of things into consideration, right? So all this incurs a lot of costs, especially on the man hours. So the people who are involved on this, for the man hours, it really takes up a lot of space on the cost, because so many people are involved. And you're not talking about the procurement yet. The procurements, it will take time to arrive. So when you're doing engineering phase, you got to do in parallel of your procurement, because it takes time. Not every parts it's easily available. It's only some countries able to fabricate it. So you got to wait for it to come. And sometimes it takes 6 to 8 months some parts to arrive. So the lead time, you actually got to buy in the time, and imagine the 6 to 8 months, you still got to pay your man hours. So these things are not immediate thing. Even though you see oil rig, it could be small, it could be as big as it. The one I'm talking about is just the small oil rig. It's a wellhead platform. There are also central processing unit, is a bigger one, which that will take years and years to do. That one is where main platform, central processing unit, a lot of wellheads will come and join together, and they will do the production before it goes to the refinery. So that one will take many, many years. So like I said, the most of the costs incurred will be on the engineering phase and the procurement, of course, and then followed by those construction, installation, and the commissioning part. And most of it, it's all on the manpowers.
So which means the salaries and all the wages are given to for them. Oh, that's a lot of cost.
Like I said, it's a lot of safety featured equipment, right? So they are not cheap, of course. They all come with a very good safety features, especially the vessels and all. Then yeah, it does incur a lot of cost on that as well.
Okay, yeah, we can see that there is a lot of cost actually. Okay, Visha, we have a last question for this part one. So, is there any huge challenges which has caused tremendous cash outflow from the company during the process of extraction of oil and gas?
Okay, definitely there is. Definitely there is. At times where you will buy a product. So I'm giving you one of the simple scenario that would might happen. Let's say you're buying a product. Okay, let's say the oil rig already exists, right? So you're buying a product to enhance the production, or to produce more oil or gas. You're putting in something to enhance it, and let's say that particular equipment fail. because you buy the equipment itself will cost you million, for example, and then let's say the equipment fail, there's nothing much you can do. You just still got to pay. And just to let you know, there is nothing cheap product for you to use in oil and gas platform. Everything you touch, it goes to 500k to 1 million ringgit. So imagine like just buying one product. I'm just talking about one product. I'm talking about one valve. One valve, let's say it's pressure safety valve. It costs you like 900k or 1 million, and let's say it malfunction. So that is a huge challenge. So you have to like, even though you're buying one instrument for the platform, to enhance the production or to do anything for any purposes, you have to think a lot because the money that incurs to buy one unit of one instrument is going to cost you millions. So this is like a very, it's a real challenge. It's just the same valve like you're putting in the manufacturing, it's a different rate. You might not, you might see them, it's the same valve used in manufacturing, but when it's oil and gas, then it's much more expensive. It's times 10 of what you're actually buying in manufacturing. I don't know why. It's probably it's one is because it's oil and gas. Another is, of course, it comes with much more safety aspects and the thickness because the pressures are high. You're dealing with higher pressures. So I can't simply say it's because oil and gas. I also must mention that the safety features in oil and gas because you're dealing with very, very high pressures. The ones in manufacturing may be much more at lower pressure, but the ones in offshore especially, you're dealing with 1500 bar, which is really huge. Like that's crazy. So it comes with the price now. The safety and the price comes in together.
Thank you so much, Isha. I think these are the costs that actually we need to see in a practical manner for all the students here. So thank you so much for sharing us on that oil and gas industry. So we are going to go into part number two, which is what are the practical aspects of IAS 38, intangible assets in research and development phase itself. So my first question for this session would be briefly explain to us the process of R&D phase, and it will be helpful if you can relate to any one of the real life product or service that you have ventured with your clients.
Okay, so R&D phase is a very interesting phase for me because, like I've mentioned earlier, I'm always in R&D. So it's been rather that I've been developing a product. So let me just give you an example of my product, jet pump. It's also known as Sim jet pump. So I've been developing this product for the past 3 years, and now it's in the market. So what happened in my product is that I initially you for the first R&D stage you got to do is getting your client pain points. So you need to have an objective of why you're developing and what is the purpose of it, right? So it's best to get a client pain points. So just get some feedbacks and you can do it through any exhibition, collect some pain points and everything. So recently there was this zero carbon initiative, zero carbon emission by the year 2050 has been pledged. So there's a lot of initiative has been taken. So based on this particular initiative, especially for my industry, who's contributing a lot of CO2 emission as well. So we need to take a step, right? So I came up with this jet pump. It's been there. Jet pump is not something new, but what I've done is I've like improvised it, improvised in terms of the performance. So that's where the novelty comes in terms of the performance itself. So that will be getting the client pain points, and then you gathering some informations in terms of the marketability. Focusing one client and developing a product, it's not a smart way to go. You have to ensure that this particular client has these pain points, and make sure the client not only one, but you can multiply the clients who also have the same problems. Then it's much more reasonable for you to develop the product. You can't be developing a product just to satisfy one client, right? So you do a bit of market research. And once you've done your market research a bit, okay, then you felt that okay, there is a market space for this, and then you move in a bit on your technology gap analysis. Just another phase for you to identify your novelty. Because for you to stand alone in the market or to stay competitive in the market, you have to have your product to be in novelty. You can't be producing what has already been in the market, right? So you got to address the gap a bit, make sure that you're deeper and basically it's defining your USP, your unique selling point, like your value proposition, and then you try to prove your concept because you've already know your novelty, so it's entirely new. So the moment you already define your value proposition. It's new. You got to move into the proof of concept. So that's when you do a lot of experiments and collecting data. And this stage is called alpha test. So once you got your alpha test and everything, you bring into the market, let to run the experiment or whatever product in the real environment to get clients feedback. And at this stage you may go half price or things like that because it's still not a very proven product yet, but you need to test in the real environment. Testing in the lab and testing in real environment is going to give you different range of results. And whatever cost we are talking about, right, there's a lot of costs incurring here, the alpha test and the beta test, a lot of costs here because you got to bear a lot of costs in terms of research itself. Because at this point, you can only ask the client that can I borrow a space where I can test my product, because I'm not an owner of a platform or anything, right? I need someone to actually give me their space. But you'll be thinking twice. Is it going to affect my production? When you're putting in, because it's still an R&D stage, so there's a lot of compromisations and R&D costs involved here, which you got to sacrifice a bit just to prove your thing works. And once you got through that stage, once you go through the beta stage, then you got to reverse back to see whatever you can improvise, and then when you bring it to the market, and then that's when all the markets, marketing comes in, and how you want to product or different application. And when in the market stage, you have to make sure you have lots and lots of application, so that's good for you to actually develop the product. So this is the entire stage of the product. Research and development, product development stage.
Okay, I think you have mentioned a little bit, but I want to ask this question again. What are the costs incurred in the research element itself, that phase?
Okay, so at the beginning point, like when I say client pain points, marketing research may not take a lot of costs incurred. You can just use the existing manpower to do that. It wouldn't take a lot on that much. But the moment you started building a prototype, then it comes a lot of cost. And also market research. Market research, you can do a high level one with your existing executives, market executives. But you want to go really in detail for you to go globalization to market your product in different regions, then you got to do a lot of market research. Then that you need a bit of cost for you to do that, because it's going to cost you a lot. And then on your patent search. So the moment you got your market and then you got your patent search, you got to do your filing patent. You got to contact liaise with some agency. That's going to cost you a bit, but it's best for you to lock your idea, whether it's going to go to the market or not. But the moment you have your novelty and your USP defined, it's best for you to lock your idea and file patent. And that process is going to cost you money. And once in parallel, you start building your prototype to prove your concept, right? So building prototype, especially in the lab, it's going to cost you a lot in terms of your testing, you building a prototype, the fabrication part itself, and the instrumentations, your fabrication, your instrumentation, and then your what they call that, your testing. So these are the main three parts in order for you to prove. So that's going to cost you a bit more, because everything has been brand new, because this product never exists. Everything you got to buy from scratch. And yeah, so that's one. And then bringing into the market, like I mentioned, you already have the prototype, and when you want to install in the client's platform or client's manufacturing plant, you're going to be compromised a bit. So you have to bear some causes over here if anything goes wrong when you're testing in the real environment.
Yeah.
Unless you do simulation, you can simulate as per the real environment. You run simulation in your laptop, in your this one computer, as per the real. But to really be very confident, for me, it's because my products may include a lot of safety features and all that. It's best for me to actually test it in the real environment rather than the real simulation. Simulation helps, but you need to know how much. Sometimes simulation it may not be accurate all the time. You need to know what's the difference from experiment and simulation and the real environment. So I need to know what's the buffer percentage. So I've got to test all three areas, and all three areas a lot of cost incurs. And then once it goes there, we haven't talked about marketing. In marketing, you have to do a lot of ads, you have to attend a lot of conference exhibitions, your collateral designs, your landing page, your talking to clients, and the time that you have to meet go and clients to just to get an appointment to pitch your products, all that a lot. And the stages where you will not be able to support your research, you have to apply for your grant, and that is exactly you should do at the stage of you developing a prototype. So at this stage, your market research, your technology, novelty, everything has to be in place. Then you apply for a grant. So this is one way where a lot of research has grant being sponsored, sponsorship one, grant application it's one.
Okay.
So yeah, a lot of at every stages except for the client pain point, every other stages has a lot of costs.
Mm, okay, so this is research cost, right? So once the research is successful and all of that, it goes to another stage called development of the product itself. So that one, what would be the cost incurred? And if you can relate to one of the criteria that I have actually mentioned you earlier on IS 38, there is few criteria, right? So if you can relate to any one of the criteria, maybe ability to use or sell the asset, or is there existence of a market on that development cost itself? So you can relate to it, any one of the criteria. Yeah.
Okay. I think I actually pretty much covered on the research and the
Mm.
product development side. I actually covered both the
So
entire
together,
research
yeah.
actually together. So the proof of concept is already on the development stage. The research is more on the idea generation, client pain points, and all that. The
Okay.
market research all coming under the research. The moment it's already in proof of concept and experiment and all, it's already in development stage. So this talk about intangible cost, right? Like what
Mm.
you've mentioned based on the act. Uh, for me, it's during the experiment, during the prototype. This stage, it's a lot of things that you may know. It's you need to do, need to invest in certain things, but you may not be able to quantify it. That is really because you may not know how to quantify until you run your experiment, you get your results, then you know, oh, this is not working. I have to do it in a different way. And then you do it different way, then you realize, no, I'm not getting the results I'm expecting. I have to do it different way. So you refine it and retune your experiment again and again. Then you will see a lot of these costs,
Mm.
intangible costs that, for example, these are the things that we may not always consider in cost. The time that you want to rebuild back your experiment, right? You have to go to the shop and buy. I'm just giving a very simple example. I have to do my experiment and I know this is not working. I have to build my prototype differently and I have to go and buy all my instruments again to cater the needs of that the new experiment I'm going to conduct. The time that I'm spending and going back to the shop to buy things and coming back, the time and also the fuel that I spend, that is not included. It's as simple as that. I'm just giving you a very, very simple example. But we did not consider that at all. But these are very important because the time that I because I've target to finish it at this particular period of time, and then I did not get the desired result. I have to redo my experiment and I have to do all over the process again. So the step starts back from scratch. So
Mm.
the same amount of cost again and again. So there is this will go on and on. Trust me, especially proving a technical product, it will take you multiple rounds. There are times where I'm not able to prove it at all as in experiment unless I put it in the real environment. So the experiment time that I've spent, it's all a lot of intangible costs over there. So the proof of concept, it's the most cost incurs at this point of time on research and development phase.
Thank you so much, Isha. I mean, I have learned a lot. I trust that many students will also see the practical aspects of all the costs that is in the research and development. Just to let you know that in accounting itself, we actually separate the cost very specifically between research and then development costs because research is like it's going to be we're not sure whether successful or not, so we are just going to put it as an expense, but development is what it's going to be an asset. It's going to be there forever for many years and all of that what you have mentioned, like when you patent it, it will be there for few years, it will be there and all of that. So we are going to capitalize that as a development cost. So that is why it's very, very important to differentiate that type of cost. So thank you so much for sharing that, Visha. That's all I have for today. So is there any last few words you want to suggest to the students or you want to say to them? Is there anything on that?
I like how you put it just now. Because what are the involvement in research and also in the development stage? I mean, you put it very clearly. I think it's because I've been on the every stages, so I think I just lump sum it all together.
Yes.
But I get what you're saying. Yes,
Mm,
there is lot of cost on the research side. So on the research is where I'm saying on the proof of concept.
mm,
The development, yes, once it goes to the beta stage, that's a lot of cost over there. That there may be more cost on the development stage compared to research. But you never know. Sometimes research will take years to for you to
mm,
prove, right? So that will really take up a lot of time and space. And for me, it's always the manpower rate.
mm,
Manpower rate is always the lots. Besides buying the instrument, the prototype, if you calculate the man-hour rates, because those who are doing most research are the expertise in their particular field, so they are not going to
mm.
be anytime cheap and all that, right?
Yeah.
Holders, masters, and all that. So for me, it's always the manpower rate is also a lot of
Mm.
cost. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you so much, Isha. I have a wonderful time with you. I hope to come back again with another exciting topic once I figure it out. Thank you so much. Have a nice day. Bye.
Nice day.